Well, good afternoon. I want to thank everyone for being here today to listen to this amazing, amazing speaker and presenter. His name is Skip Nelson, and he is a recognized leader of a uniquely effective business building and profit generating strategies. And he has 30 years of business building experience that he uses that experience as both a financial advisor and a small business consultant. Skip started his first business out of his parents' basement after graduating from the University of Minnesota. And from there, he built a multi-million-dollar business and everything from cleaning and construction to insurance claims. He has also co-authored 7 books on small business growth and profit. And his expertise makes him a highly in-demand expert and has been featured in various media outlets such as New York Times, CBS Television, ABC Radio and Television, and NPR Radio. And now, Network in Action Speaker Series. Skip's goals is straightforward: to help serious business owners generate more clients, close more sales, and increase their overall profits quickly and inexpensively. Merely surviving in business and not in success, it is his passion is to use his experience to help business owners break through barriers and finally attain the success that they all deserve. So thank you again for being here, Skip. We're excited to listen to you present.
Thank you, Kim. I appreciate it very much. I do have to say that I knew I wanted to network with Kim. The first time I met her, she was wearing a feathered boa. And I thought, this is somebody I got to network with. And she hasn't disappointed me since. She is amazing, and it is a thrill.
I didn't share what you were wearing, so.
I was wearing a sailor's outfit. We were in festivals. We were wearing costumes at the time. But the feathered boa, I mean, that's tough to top. So bravo to you. So enough about feathered boas and costumes, but we're here to talk about business and profit. And so let me share my screen and let's dive in. Let's make sure everything works here. Hopefully you can see my screen all right. First off, I would just like to thank NIA for this opportunity. I love being a part of this group. Scott started this organization, I believe, in 2015. And I do a lot of networking. It's unlike any other networking group I've been a part of. And it is just a real privilege to be able to speak to nationally to the people that are my fellow NIA members. As Kim mentioned, I went to the University of Minnesota. A friend of mine asked me, he said, do you know what the average University of Minnesota student got on their SAT? And I said, no, what? And he said, drool. So not exactly the most complimentary, but I'm a proud graduate. But I'm from Minnesota, as I mentioned, but I understand that obviously a lot of you are from all over the country. And so I'd be interested if you'd put in the chat, just say hello, name and where you are from. Don't be shy, just say hi. Anybody, where are you joining me from? Minnesota's covered. Excellent. Houston. Hello, David and Joyce. Moose is in Houston. Awesome. Oakdale, David. Hello, David. How are you? Dennis, Cocoa Beach. Nice. Oh, we got a good representation all over the place. So that is wonderful. So I talked about breakthrough. My first book was Your Business Breakthrough. My company is Business Breakthroughs. I like breakthroughs. And Webster's defines breakthrough as a sudden, dramatic, and important discovery or development. And hopefully, maybe you might even have a breakthrough today. But my goal for us today is a fewfold. One, I hope to demonstrate the power of what I call profit acceleration. And it is an incredibly powerful term and concept that can blow up your business in a good way. Secondly, I hope to shift your focus from revenue to profit. Revenue was always my focus. When I started my first company out of my parents' basement, as a carpet cleaning company, and my business partner and I focused on revenue. We wanted to be $1 million company. And then we got there, we wanted to be a $2 million company. It was all revenue, revenue, revenue. But I found sometimes that I made the revenue, but I didn't make any money. And so I found that it ain't about revenue, it's about profit. And the other things we want to talk about is ways that you can look at your business and find hidden profit that's hiding in your business. It's a gold mine that is there, and it's just figuring out where to look. And hopefully we'll be able to point you in a few ways to find some of those gold mines. The other thing I want to do is show you how you can make the same amount of profit as $1 million company, only doing a quarter of that business. And because most businesses don't get to be $1 million company, only about 13% get to be $1 million and above of all small businesses. But we can show you potentially to do the same amount of profit as $1 million company. And or I'll show you how you can double your current profit in about 5 minutes. I'll show you in 5 minutes. Take a little longer to do it, but I'll show you in 5 minutes how you can double the current profit. Now, show of hands that raise your hand if you'd like to get the same profit as $1 million company or double your own profit. Anybody? Who's not going to raise your hand no matter what question I ask? All right, fair enough. Whatever. But those are the goals, and that's what we're going to try to go after today. So the first thing I want to talk about is one of the most critical, and it's called compounding. Term I'm sure you've heard before. But it's a term that one of the greatest thinkers that we've ever known, Albert Einstein, said is the 8th wonder of the world. And he also said it's the most amazing, most powerful thing in the universe, compounding. And so don't take my word for it. I mean, I was in the half of the class that made the upper half possible. I was not always the best student. But Einstein, I think, is somebody we can trust his judgment. And he knew the absolute incredible power of compounding. And so I got a question for you. If we take a penny and we double it every day for a month, right? So first day we got a penny, second day we got 2, then 4, then 6. You know the trick. 6 then 8, I guess. Double every day. So I got a question for you, and put in chat. Would you prefer the penny doubled every day for 30 days, or I've got a bag right here of $250,000? So put into chat, would you rather like the cash or the penny? Tell me in chat, what do you think? Penny, penny, penny. Well, a lot of pennies. Penny, 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 penny doubled. I'm not seeing anybody. Nobody wants my 250,000 bucks. Penny, 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 penny. Everybody's thinking penny. Well, good choice, penny people. Good choice. Because if you do that and you double it every day, you got over $5.3 million. Now, I know that's hard to even fathom. Like, how does that even add up? But it does. And so from day 30 to day 31, we go from 5.3 to 10.6, right? So the compounding, but that's using the power of compounding. And we're going to be talking about ways to hopefully do that in your business. So the other concept that I want to hit home is that we're not talking about major changes, hitting the home run, right? We're just talking about singles and doubles, just consistent, ongoing change that can add up to massive change. That's really what we're focusing on. And so to do that, I use this proprietary software called Profit Acceleration Software. And what it allows is it takes this concept of compounding and applies it and digs into business and finds profit centers. And that's really what we're going to be focusing on. Because what they did, the company that developed this software, been around about 16 years. They're in 45 countries, and they surveyed pretty much every type of business known to humankind in all those countries, all over the world. And they found what they were looking for is what consistent things they find in profitable, growing businesses, but they wanted strategies that were free or low cost, it really didn't cost money to implement. And they were the fastest ways to grow the most profit. Good goals, right? And so what they found is these 12 baseline areas to accomplish that is what was consistent. And it's kind of the low-hanging fruit as far as the things that are going to provide the biggest impact on profit as quickly as possible. Now, this actually expands to 40 in the software, but these are the 12 baseline ones. Now, if you look at them, number 1 and number 4 are different than all the others. Number 1 is cut cost, and number 4 is increase prices. Now, the difference between those two items is that they have nothing to do with sales. And every dollar that you either cut in cost or increase in price is directly goes to your bottom line, 100% right in your pocket. And so that's different. The other ones involve sales. You have to figure in your margins. And so the amount generated isn't going to be as much. So the first thing and the fastest way to increase profit for your business is to increase your prices. Now, the problem I see a lot of times people have with that, we'll get into that in a little bit because it took me a long time to actually do it because I was afraid to. But I find a lot of times businesses really misinterpret not only pricing, but just numbers overall, whether it's numbers from your accountant, your bookkeeper, your tax person, or whatever. But when you're going to figure out what you're going to price something for, or do a sale or a discount or something like that, you really need to understand your numbers, because if you don't, it can really bite you in the behind, because numbers don't lie. And so look at this. They might kid a little bit though, right? But if a company increases profit from 20 to 30%, what percent is the growth? 10%? No, it's actually 50%. Now, how you might be thinking, well, how is that possible? Well, keep in mind that 20 to 22% is not a 2% increase. It's actually a 10% increase. And 20 to 24 is a 20% increase. And 20 to 26 is 30, and 20 to 28 is 40, and 20 to 30 is 50. And so we got to really understand our numbers. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. Second factor that's critical is discounting. It is the biggest destroyer of profit in business, is discounting. When we were sitting in my parents' basement and we weren't getting enough carpet cleaning business, the first thing we went to is we're going to run ads and do a mailer and do a discount, 20, 30% off your cleaning, and we generate more activity, but sometimes we really didn't make any more money. And why is that? Well, look at this. Most small businesses don't realize that discounting destroys their profit. And think about this. If you just discount 10%, you have to sell 50% more of your product or service just to break even. So if you got a $100 widget, have a 30% margin, you end up making 30 bucks for every widget, right? So that means your cost of goods and services is 70 bucks. And if you discount again 10%, you're selling it for 90 instead of 100. So your cost of goods and services doesn't change. So now we're making 20 instead of 30. So if we sell 100 widgets at 30 to get a 3, now we got to sell 150 to get back to where we were. And so think about that. That's just with a 10% discount, we have to sell 50% more. Where do you see a 10% discount? I don't think I ever offered a 10% discount. Why? Because they don't work. Who's going to do anything for 10%? Usually it's 20 or 30 or 40 maybe. And the amount that you have to sell just to get yourself back to square one increases just as much. So that's a misnomer that a lot of businesses don't fully realize. However, the reverse is also true. And this is where, as bad as that is, this is really good. So if you increase the price of your widget by just 10%, so now you're selling it for 110 instead of what you were before. Your cost of goods and services is still 70 bucks. That doesn't change, but now we're making 40 bucks instead of 30. That's a 33% increase in profit on just a 10% price increase. So the other kind of secret sauce here that I find, and I deal with businesses in all industries all over the country, and it was my own mistake too, is I thought it was all about price, right? That's how I got more people, was just offering a cheaper price. And it isn't. It is not about price. It is about value. The problem that most of us as business owners suck at really establishing our value proposition. How are we different than our competition, really? And how can we provide far more value than our competitors? That's really the difference. And that's something that we really need to focus on, is on the value that we are presenting and providing different than our competitors. Love this analogy or this case study because it shows the difference between innovation in that regard and just plain old discounting. Now, you tell me which is the scenario that you would choose. You got two options here. Restaurant offers you a 25% discount for your favorite meal. You take your significant other out, go get this great meal, and you get either 25% off, or the other restaurant gives you, for the same price, same meal, but they include a free bottle of wine. An excellent year, by the way. Free bottle of wine and free dessert for each of you. So which would you take? Would you like the discount or free? So just put in chat, discount or free. What would you like? What would you pick? Discount or free? Anybody? Discount, free, free. Who else? Free, free, free. Free, free, free. Well, the free, the freeze seem to have it. Free, free, free. So yeah, that I'd pick that too. It's always cool to get something free. But let's look at the numbers from the business's standpoint. The first restaurant gives a 25% discount, so it's $15 off, right? The second one gives you a $25 bottle of wine and a $6 dessert. Does the restaurant pay $25 and $6 for each dessert? No, of course not, right? But the perceived value that is being provided is $37 as opposed to $15. So it's a significantly higher perceived value. But again, what they're paying, it only costs the restaurant $8.50 each for the dessert. So let's look at the numbers. Not only is the perceived value higher in the restaurant B scenario, but the profit is 40% higher for the business. So the perceived value of the patron is higher, but the profit is higher also for the business. That's a 240% increase in profit for that restaurant. So winner, winner, chicken dinner, right? You get the best of both. You get a higher perceived value that you're providing, and you make more profit. Everybody wins. And this is getting into something we're going to be talking about more in a bit, something called a market dominating position, which is a critical element for developing your brand and your marketing efforts. So as far as generating profit, option number one that I want to talk about is increasing prices. Now, why don't most businesses increase prices? Is because they're afraid. They never do it. When we were starting my business and operating my parents' basement, we started in 1987. Yeah, I'm old, right? Long time ago. 10 years later, a decade later, when we started, we charged 22 cents a square foot to clean carpet. What do you think we charged a decade later? 22 cents a square foot. How stupid is that? Why? Because we were mortified if we raised our prices, we'd lose all our customers. Totally wrong, but a lot of companies are in the same scenario. So again, let's just say we're selling the widget for $100, cost of goods and services $70. We increase our price to 110. Is that really a 10% price increase really going to cause a mass exodus of your customers? A couple may leave, a few may leave, but what you typically find that the people that leave are the ones that are just focused purely on price. They're not going to be your loyal customers, and they're not going to value as much the value that you provide beyond price. They're going to leave you for the next best coupon. That's probably not the type of business that you want to build your business around anyway. And so the extra money that you made, again, is 100% profit goes to your bottom line, and that's 33% of a profit increase for your business. So to make $1,000 in profit, selling our widgets at $100, we need to sell 33.3 widgets. By increasing our price 10%, now we only need to sell 25 to get back to the same spot we were. So just to break, and that means just to break even, we'd have to lose 25% of our clients. Well, that's not going to happen. We're not going to lose 25%. It just won't happen. Now, this is not to say that we should increase prices willy-nilly. There's a strategy to do it. I work with my clients on exactly how to do it, and it has to be done carefully. But the point is you can do it, and it is not going to cause a mass exodus of clients. And in fact, if you present your value properly, they're going to be happy to pay for it and thrilled with the value that you're providing. But it is the fastest way to increase profit for your business. Number two, leveraging your P&L, your profit and loss statement. I find with a lot of businesses, and again, that wasn't something that I focused on a lot in my business either. My business partner handled that. And it was a necessary evil, right? And my accountant and bookkeeper and give them all this stuff, and then provide it and give it to our tax person. And then great, that's done. End of the year. We don't have to worry about that for another year. Huge mistake. The information you get from your bookkeeper and accountant and your tax person is your scorecard for your business. That is how you should be running your business. And so you need to make sure you're maximizing the data and stuff that you get. And so looking at your P&L, what can we do for the shortest amount of time to help in that process? Now, do you think you should look to lower your overhead or increase revenue? Most businesses are always focusing, if they need to make more money, they got to make more revenue and get more leads and all that. But is that the most efficient and best way to do it? We look at the baseline list again. Cutting cost is another way to do it and one of the most effective ways. And so anything you can do, again, to cut costs, getting revenue is typically, with leads and everything, is very expensive to get more customers. And so whatever we can do with kind of whatever we have is going to be most efficient and most profitable. Cutting cost is one of the fastest ways to increase profit in your business. And this is one of the ways that I see quickest effect with most of my clients. How do you do it? Well, just reach out to anybody you work with on an ongoing basis, vendors or anything, and rebid your stuff. I got real comfy with a lot of my vendors, and I just kind of used them, and they did a great job. And I'm not saying price is the only, they have to be reliable and deliver and give you what you need and all that. But it doesn't hurt to ask. And you'll find a lot of times that if they just know you're shopping, they'll sharpen their pencil and they'll get better. Could be even your rent. Commercial markets kind of sucks right now. And so if you're willing to maybe commit to another 3 to 5 years, might your landlord be willing to cut you a break in the rent and maybe reduce the rent if you're willing to commit to stay longer? Maybe. Doesn't hurt to ask. And so for a lot of these things, it's just that they know you're shopping. Don't let them take you for granted as a good customer, but appreciate what they do, but shop. In the salon scenario, this salon used a lot of Clairol products, $10,000 a month in Clairol products. Do you think if they went to one of the competitors and offered that kind of an account that they'd be willing to maybe give a 10 or 20% discount? Maybe, maybe not. If they did, that's $1,000 to $2,000 a month. But maybe they love Clairol. How about if you go back to Clairol and say, well, geez, I talked to Nexus and they're willing to give us a 20% discount. I'd love to stay with you, Clairol. What would you be willing to do? Well, maybe they say, well, I can't do 20, I can do 10 or whatever. But ask, you never know. And it doesn't take much to really add up. Okay, let's talk a little bit about lead generation, because it's typically one of the biggest questions I get with clients is, how do I get more leads? And one of the big misses that I ran into as a business and that I see with a lot of businesses that I deal with is just focusing on lead generation, but not really understanding good, solid marketing fundamentals. We all want more leads. That's one of the 12 baseline items. But we need to really nail down these fundamental items of marketing, and that is establishing a solid market dominating position and incorporating a compelling offer. So let's talk a little bit about more what those things are. For a solid market dominating position, the trick in a lot of these things is really getting inside the head of your prospect or client. A lot of times you might have heard the lost my train of thought. But for a market dominating position, the idea is to get beyond just differentiating ourselves from our client, but getting into really what is the problem that they have that they want to solve, not just how we're different from our competition. So the market dominating position takes us a little deeper. And so everybody that's buying something has got two things typically in their mind. One, they have a problem that they don't want. And two, they there's a result that they want, but they don't have. If you can figure out what that is for your ideal client and build your marketing around that, I can guarantee you that your profit and your leads will explode. Most businesses don't do that well. They don't even know what it is that main problem is. Or if they do, they're wrong. And the other thing is involving what's called a conversion equation in your marketing, whether it's your website or anything. And the idea with that is to first interrupt, which is the headline. And I'll give you some examples of what that looks like. Second is to engage, which is your subheadline or the resolution or a result that you can kind of help them achieve. Third is to educate them on how you are better than your competition. And last is a compelling offer, which again, most businesses don't have at all. And it's so compelling that they can turn it down. You know, you look in these mailers and stuff that we get in the mail, you get those, right? And I look at the offers in there and most of them stink. They're not compelling at all. And I get, if you have an offer and your competitors are talking about the same thing, it ain't compelling, right? It's got to be unique. Like as a financial advisor, if everybody's saying free retirement plan or whatever, or free portfolio analysis, but if everybody's doing the same thing, it's not compelling. Or a roofer saying free roof inspection or whatever, it's not compelling. What can you do to really be compelling in the offer that you give? The other thing that is really critical, and this just conceptually keep this in mind with whatever advertising you're doing, is something called the buyer's journey, because there's really three elements of the buyer's journey. The first part is future buyers. They're not ready to buy yet, but they will be at some point, not yet, but they're just kind of looking about the benefits of why should I buy, right? The second group of people is the soon to buy. They're almost there, not quite ready to buy, almost there, but they're looking at like, well, why shouldn't I buy? Kind of the objection stage. The last stage is the now buyer. And that's only 1 to maybe 3% of the buyers. They're ready to go. They're ready to buy today. They're just, who am I going to buy from? Now, the problem that most advertising is only focused on the now buyer. If I run a 20% coupon, is that going to mean anything to somebody who's not ready to buy today? No, right? That doesn't, the now buyer might be interested in that, but the 97 or 99% of the other market that's seeing your website or seeing your ad, that's going to do nothing for them. So what can you do for that, for the majority of people that aren't quite ready to buy today, to capture their interest and be a compelling offer to them? And most of that is based on information. And I'll show you how you can do that. Look at this case. Cosmetic surgeon, they kind of specialize in what they call mommy makeovers. And the women that they went after, 30 to 45, couple kids, they did about 35 leads a week, 6,000 in the Facebook. And they didn't have a market dominating position that addressed the primary problem in their market. They had one, and it sounded lovely. Nurture the body that will provoke true envy. Ooh, you know, that sounds good. But it didn't address their market. So they reached out to their ideal clients and asked them, what is the main thing? Why did you reach out to us or whatever? And they found that what they wanted, what their ideal client wanted, the problem that was taking place in their head was they wanted the body they had before they had kids. That's what they wanted. And when they changed their market dominating position to that, it blew up. 400 leads per month, an 1,100% increase in their lead generation. So the other problem they had is they didn't have conversion at the leads they were generating because they didn't have a compelling offer. I mean, look at their site. No offer, toll free. Maybe that was it. They thought, ooh, we offer a toll free number. People will throng to us, right? Because it's toll free. I don't think so. No offer. And so this is what we put together. It's called a squeeze page. It's not the website. Ideally, we want to create a squeeze page, which is a single page element, and look at, do we can apply the conversion equation. Headline. And we offered a free report. And so eye-opening report, candid answers about mommy makeover surgeries. What are the risks and what are the benefits? Will it look natural? Now, if that's your market, is that going to be compelling for you? Would you want that report? I think so, right? But what do you need to do to get the report? You got to give your name and your email. That's the squeeze page. You squeeze that out of them, right? Because then, even though they're not a now buyer, all those people that are seeing your website and the ad that would go away unless they're ready to buy today, you capture their information and then you can drip or nurture them with ongoing information until they're ready to buy. So you capture the 97 to 99% of the market that is not the now buyer with information. Make sense? So great case study. Love this one. Psychologist, this was his initial website. Nice fellow, Dr. Smith. Parenting advice and resources from Dr. John Smith. Had all these areas, 9 areas of specialization. Pretty impressive, lots of stuff. And they had a video talking about some of the ways that he would help you do that. But the problem is, all I had to do is go to the website and I click on this and I see a lot of people have really cool stuff on their website, but people can just get it on the website and you get nothing. And so you want to make sure that you capture their email and name so you've got something to then nurture beyond that. He didn't do any of that. Now, how about this one? After we apply the conversion equation, does that get your attention? The headline, and then below that, again, now you can discover the secrets of controlling your child and instantly restore peace and quiet in your home. Does that provide a solution? I think so. And then we have the video that then talks about some value that it provides, but it points them to fill out the deal to get the free report. And so the video says, Dr. Smith comes on, says you're struggling to control your kids' emotions, yelling and screaming at you, often displaying belligerent, sometimes threatening tone, no matter what, to get them under control. Hi, my name is Dr. John Smith, and I can help parents like you learn everyday techniques that will solve these frustrating, destructive behavioral patterns once and for all. In fact, let me prove it to you. In the box to the right, I'll send you a series of 60-second techniques that will immediately restore peace and quiet in your home. Is that compelling? I think so. It was for him, and I'll show you the results. As compared to that, free consultation. It's nothing. It's not compelling at all. So that's the key. Have something that's compelling and capture their name and email. So then you've got something to work with to nurture until they become now buyers. So on the old site, 300 leads a month, 32 calls, ask about the consultation in all 9 areas. Now, again, the thing that we did is we just took one of the areas of specialization and we actually built squeeze pages for each one individually. Average of 21 consented to the consultation, 16 became patients, about $13,000 in profit, annually about $153,000, again, for all 9 areas. In this scenario, we just did one, got 76 leads a month, 79% requested the offer, 72% requested a consultation, and 38 became new patients. Average sale about $800. That's $30,000 a month increase and $364,000 annually. That's incredible. Again, the old site generated about 17,000. The new one, 364,000. That's a 2,000% profit impact. Now, do you need a 2,000% profit impact to have massive effect in your business? No. Is it likely that you're going to get a 2,000% impact? No. This was an unusual circumstance, but you don't need that. We're not even talking about hundreds of percent. We're talking about not even 50%. We're talking about 10% or 5%. Again, it's compounding. It's using small incremental effects for big effect. So if you'd like to have similar results for your business, what do you need to do? Again, we look at the main elements here. You want to create a market dominating position for your industry that gets inside the head of your client with the problem they're trying to solve. You want to have a compelling offer that's actually compelling, right? We want to make sure that it's going to get their attention. It's something they want. And we want to build your marketing stuff around the conversion equation. And ideally, set up a squeeze page so you drive people to that to get the report, not to the website. Because the website, you can do it there, but the website is more confusing. You know, there's history of the company and just a bunch of other stuff. We don't want that. We just want the squeeze page. The only purpose of that is to drive people to get the free information or the report. And leads will flow. They always do. This is another concept that a lot of businesses use with great success, and it's using joint ventures. Now, joint ventures is nothing earth-shattering here, just where we're partnering with other people in a similar vein, going after the same clients that we are, but they're not direct competitors. And so obviously the key is finding partners that serve the same client that we serve. And so the example that I'll use, I love this one, is a florist that we worked with. And for them, weddings were most lucrative, about $3,000 in profit, were average per wedding. But the concept that I want to point out here is something called an event chain. And all businesses have them. It's just identifying your event chain in your industry and where do you fall within it. And the event chain is basically just the series of people that are involved with your clients before you get involved and after you get involved. Who is that in your industry? Now, for the florist, wrong way. For the florist, let's look at what their event chain was. Think about it in a wedding situation. You got the jeweler, the wedding planner, the church, the venue, the dress, the cake, the printer, all that stuff. And so in that scenario, the people above the florist is perfectly positioned to refer business to the florist. And the people that are below the florist are perfectly positioned to receive referrals from them, right? And so think about it, do you think the florist could obtain just one referral each month from just one of the businesses beyond them? Is that outlandish? Do you think that's pretty realistic? I think it's no-brainer level. It's not very much. And think about, do you think they could send just one referral each month to each of the businesses? Well, again, we're working with the same clients here, just different elements. So it would be natural. And you're really providing a value add for the client to have resources that you can suggest. Most clients love that. And so if we make $3,000 as the florist in just a single referral a month, that adds an additional $36,000 a year. And if they're able to do something with the baker, and maybe they're able to negotiate a 10% referral fee. So that would be an additional $3,600. Now, maybe in your industry, referral fees aren't appropriate or wouldn't be comfortable. That's fine, but I'm just presenting it as a way to generate revenue. Again, with the printer, it's a 10% referral fee and $1,000 gig, it's $1,200. And just that is an additional $40,000 in revenue, being super conservative with just really involving 3 joint venture partners. That's 102% profit increase. So it really adds up. Now this one, again, compelling offer could really be compelling to any of the people in that event chain, right? If we had a report that were the 8 things every bride should know to avoid disaster on their wedding day, is that compelling? I think if I was the bride, it would be. If I was the father of the bride, it would be. If I was that would be compelling. And I want that. What I've also done with some of my clients is we've put together kind of a resource guide at the back of the report with the other companies in the event chain. And so maybe they offer a coupon, hopefully not a discount, but just a value add. But it's a resource guide of all the type of businesses that they're going to need to be dealing with anyway. So you get great information in the report plus resources, incredibly powerful. And it's been very, very effective. And again, if you've got questions along the way, I can't see the chat as well when I've got the PowerPoint up. So please put them into chat or whatever, and there will be time for questions at the end. So I'd love to entertain questions. It just works better if we do it then because I can't really see them here. So note them, put them into chat if you want, and at the end, we'll go through whatever questions that you have. I would love to address any questions that you want. What about upsell and cross-sell? Who sells the most hamburgers? Anybody in the world, right? McDonald's, right? Now, if you go to a McDonald's and you say, I'd like a hamburger, well, they just say, okay, that'll be $4. No. What are they going to ask you? Would you like fries with that? Or would you like to supersize that? They're upselling and cross-selling. Upsell really is just a higher grade or quantity of the thing. So that would be more like supersize, right? Cross-sell would be a related thing. Like, would you like fries with that? Would you like an apple pie with that? The key here, and note this in the notes that you're all taking, I'm sure. But note this, if you are in the type of business that has this type of a scenario where you have people purchasing something, and at the time of purchase, 34% will buy additional things. If you're an incredible salesperson, no. If you have the most amazing offer ever, no. What do you have to do? Ask. Just ask. And so McDonald's has a plan for their cross-sell upsell. What's your plan? You should have one in your business if you don't. And again, it doesn't have to be anything fancy. Just ask. So we talked earlier about how discounting destroys profit. So how do we get around discounting? We do it by bundling. And basically, the danger we all face is if we allow the market to put us in a group and we're just apples to apples comparison, meaning that we're just the same as our competition. There's really no difference. It's all apples to apples. If that's the case, what is the differentiator that your client or any client's going to use to make the decision? If everything's the same, price, right? That's going to be the difference. We don't want that. What we want to create is an apples to oranges comparison that doesn't allow that easy comparison that everything's the same. We want to bundle it to make sure we're different, we're unique. And so let's see how we can do that. Because if we're successful in doing that, price is not the primary issue. It is value. Again, getting back to focusing on value. Most businesses do not establish their price, their value differentiation from their competition. And if we don't, it will fall to price every time. We don't want that, right? So we just want to show we're offering more value than our competitors. And statistically, people will pay way more money if they believe they're receiving the value. But unfortunately, again, the mistake that I made, I would just go to discounting if I needed more work. That's what I thought I had to do. And we found that even with a 10% discount, we had to sell 50% more just to break even. We don't want that. So when we're looking at the 12 baseline strategies, we're just talking about one of the strategies in the simulator. We don't have to do a home run in all of them. We've just been talking about onesies and twosies here to see dramatic change. Compounding certainly does that. But let's look in the simulator again. Business at $1 million, gross margin of 50% along the top. You see the net margin at 10. Why do I use 10 again? Because Google says 10 is the most common net profit margin for small businesses generically. So, but again, most businesses don't get to be $1 million. So how do we get the same profit, $100,000 profit of $1 million business if we're only doing $250,000? So what if we talked about percentages and some of these profit impacts of 1,000% or hundreds of a percent? Don't need that. What would we need to come up with $75,000 difference? Some big, massive 30, 40, 50, 100% impact? No. Again, think about compounding and thinking about just little bitty steps at a time and how they add up. If you were able to find just a 3.72 profit impact in each of the 12, and I've literally never seen in all the clients I've done less than 5, but let's just say 3.72 in all of the 12 areas noted in the simulator, looks what happens to your profit. It goes from 25,000 to 100,000. Same profit as $1 million business, only doing 250,000 bucks. Isn't that cool? How about the other one that I was talking about? How about how you can double the profit in your business really quick without spending another dollar in marketing or advertising? This is how we do it. Remember we talked about the 2 elements of the 12 that are unique: cut costs and increase prices. Let's start there. We've got $1 million business, $100,000 in profit. Let's say we cut costs 5%. Now, when I was in my parents' basement, low overhead, I could certainly find 5% to cut. And I have not run into a business yet that could not find 5%. So again, we don't need 50%, 5%. And let's say then we also increase our prices 5.5%, not even keeping up with inflation. Most clients wouldn't even notice a 5% increase in most industries. So let's say we just do that, nothing else. 5% cut, 5% profit increase. What does it do to the profit? We go from $100,000 to $200,000. You just doubled your profit. And you can do that right away, right? And again, there's strategies to all this stuff. But the point is, it doesn't cost you anything to do it, and you can do it very quickly and realize doubling in profit. The next time, I get keyed about this stuff. I mean, and how about if we do a 5% profit impact on all 12 of the items? Again, just starting with penny level stuff, just little things, not 30, not the 2,000%, just 5%. Look at the effect that it has. It's a 427% profit impact. And a lot of times, obviously, the percent is a lot more than 5. But I want to make the point that it just takes small incremental changes to add up to significant profit impact in your business. So how would you like to see that similar kind of profit and gains in your business? A lot of the examples that I've been using have been generic, right? 5% or 10%, or we just use generic numbers. How'd you like it if we went into your business and used your business numbers and your industry numbers and see what the software would do with that? So what I'm offering, well, we talked about the software, and it is literally the most powerful profit generating software in the world. It does 497 million weighted algorithmic sequences to go into your business and find the profit centers in almost perfect order. And beyond that, putting together exactly the plan and a step-by-step blueprint of how to implement each one of them. It's amazing. And so what I'm willing to do is to do that for you. And I talked earlier about a compelling offer. Well, here's my compelling offer for you. I do a lot of workshops. I do a lot of presentations, and I would like to get more national entities. And so if you'd be willing to go through the scenario with me, I'll give you the analysis. And normally I charge about $3,000 for a similar analysis with the overall analysis, the report, and the report breaks down literally a step-by-step way of how you implement all these steps in your business. So it's usually about $3,000. But what I'd be willing to do, if you go through that process with me and allow me to use that as a case study, and I don't need to use your company name, I can use just generically, kind of like the florist or whatever. If you allow me to do that, that would be a great help to me. So I will waive my fees for all of that for you, for my NIA friends. No fee. You get the analysis, you get the report, you get the written layout of exactly how to implement all of it. And that would be a huge, huge help to me. And you might think, is it worth 45 minutes of my time? Keep in mind that this software in the assessments that I've done has found $100,000 plus in 93% of the assessments that I've run through it. And so we will find those hidden gold mines in your business and hidden profit for you. It will happen. And so if that's something that you would be interested in, I can't do it for everybody, but I will do it on a first come, first serve basis. So just go into chat and put your email and put your name and just say profit assessment. And I will personally follow up with you, set up a time, and I will give you all the things that we talked about. And in fact, I'll go one better. After we do the assessment, I reference, I've got my first book, Your Business Breakthrough, and I've got 6 others. I will give you your choice of 2 of my books, and I will, after we get through the assessment, that will help you in the implementation of the information that we come up with in the assessment. Cool? So put your name, and if you're interested and you want to get on the calendar, in chat and put profit assessment, and I will follow up with you and we'll get that set up. But my goal, hopefully you've found a few nuggets today that will be helpful in your business. I'm passionate about small business, and I admire anybody that has one. And I would just love to help you any way that I can. It is just a privilege to be able to speak to all my friends at NIA. And keep in mind, we talked about a definition at the beginning about what a breakthrough is. I don't know what your definition of breakthrough or success or anything else, but just know that your breakthrough awaits. And I look forward to helping any way I can. Thank you.
Skip, this was really, really great stuff. You definitely got the gears turning. I got a question. It might just be a bit of a platitude. But like this whole time I was thinking of my friend's business that really isn't doing so well. And they're thinking about maybe closing shop. Does your profit acceleration and all that, is it able to help businesses that may be on the brink? Would you say that like all businesses have their own hidden gems?
Oh,
Yeah.
Really any business, right? I mean, it's all about profit. And some of these strategies, again, all the baseline 12 that I listed there, we're not talking about, doing a big ad campaign or something like that. It's strategic, and they don't cost money to do. And if we're talking about cutting costs and increasing prices, those are virtually immediate, right? I mean, that is money to the bottom line. And so absolutely, give them, I would be more than happy to help them any way that I can. But I work a lot with Sunbelt is a big national company that sells businesses. And a lot of times they'll get somebody that'll want to sell their business, and they're like, they think it's worth this because they've been working hard for 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's worth this. And they're like, what? And it's just not ready to sell. So I work with them to kind of get their profit looking better. And so then they can get the kind of money at least more in line with what they would want. So yeah, it absolutely can help the businesses that are struggling.
Right on. Yeah, it's definitely a multi-angled approach, obviously. So I was loving every little bit of what I saw today. So thank you very much. Anybody in that are remaining with us? Does anybody have any questions for Skip? I know we're kind of
Sarah has one in the chat, and her question was, what are some of the typical things that you see across the board where you can easily cut costs?
Typical things that I see to cut costs?
Yeah, like that you kind of see across the board that people are just not.
A lot of it is, look at if you're not even your P&L statement, look at your credit card statement and look at the things. If it doesn't help you generate more work or have the potential of doing so, I say it's on the cutting block, right? If it isn't helping you grow your business or the potential to do so, magazine subscription or, whatever, then potentially cut it. And just the rebidding is it's amazing what that can do if you just ask. I know I had vendors that I work with that just kind of took me for granted, right? And I loved Hal, right? Hal was my guy, and he supplied me with blah, 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 whatever. And he did a great job. And so I just kept ordering from Hal. But at some point, I never really shopped it or anything, right? And so when I finally said Hal, and I looked at this other vendor, and I could get the same stuff cheaper there. He sharpened his pencil, and I wanted to keep working with Hal, but he wanted to work with me too. But the point is, I just asked. And so look at anything you're doing, anything you're buying on an ongoing basis, and look for opportunities to rebid things or other vendors that you can work with. And a lot of times, just by asking, they will give you a discount, or they will sharpen their pencil and give you a better value on what you're buying from them.
All right. Well, chat seems very, you get a lot of gratitude coming through the chat here. Anybody else, feel free to unmute, or we could wrap her up a little bit early. Anything in chat?
I asked a question in chat. I'll say to unmute it. So I like the idea of not discounting and bundling, but for service-based businesses, specifically maybe consulting or coaching businesses, do you have any ideas as to what we can bundle, information product, or I don't know.
Sure. Could be anything. The bottom line is you want to look at, you know, in the market, as if you're a coach, what you know, what are your competitors? What do they provide? And you just don't want to allow you to be, you know, put in the apples to apples comparison. It's like, if you're just like all the other coaches and just kind of do the same free assessment and blah, 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 you know, it's all the same stuff. You don't want to be in that position. And so it doesn't matter the industry, service or product based or not. You just want to look at what is your competition doing? What are they offering? And don't do it exactly that way. Look at ways that you can make an apples to oranges bundle. And so what can you put together? You know, maybe it is you know, again, I don't know what you're coaching or whatever, but look at your competition, look at what's going on in the market, and just make sure what you're doing is not just that. What can you do if your competition is doing this? What can you do to be more compelling or attractive to your potential client? And there's a lot of different ways you can do that. It doesn't have to be a product. Certainly works well with services. And if you want to do the assessment, I'd be more than happy to dive into that a little more deeper for you as a coach. But yeah, there's absolutely ways to do that. But just as I said, look at what your competition is doing, and if what you're positioning your offer, if it's similar to what your competition is doing, you're sliding into this category, which you want to be in. You know, what can you do that's different? Just like your offer, if you have one. Is it, you know, if you look at your competitors and they're offering the same type of offer, it's not compelling. So how can you make your offer compelling? And again, it's not just about a discount. You don't want it to be a discount, but you want to focus on value. What can you offer that's of value? And a lot of that might also involve understanding your client. Just like with the example that about the doctor and the makeovers that they did, they didn't really understand their market. They knew that they wanted to do mommy makeovers, and that was their market. But their market dominating position had nothing to do with that. It didn't speak to that market at all. And how did they do it? Did they do some big study? No. Call them. Call some of your favorite clients that you like more of, and ask them, what did you like about my business? You know, why did you hire me? What's important to you? You know, you have a lot of options to look at. What was most important to you? And that's how they found out that what they wanted is just, I wanted the body I had before I had kids. And they're like, well, let's make that the market dominating position. You know, again, this isn't rocket science here, but it takes some effort. And you really just, again, want to find out what is that problem going on in your client's head that they have that they don't want, so you can hopefully provide results that they want that they don't currently have. Other questions?
Right on. All right. Well, y'all, let's thank Skip one more time. This, once again, awesome stuff. And I do encourage everyone to join us on the first, third, and fourth Wednesday of every month for our Network with the Nations first Wednesday, our Sales Mastery Like Today with Skip, and also our speaker series the fourth Wednesday of every month. Do join us. I'm so glad this was well attended, and I look forward to seeing you all on the next speaker series. Thank you so much. Thank you, Skip.